Mark?
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff.
We can't. We just can't truly fully feel to the depths, Tammy, everything you shared. Obviously, we just can't. Powerful, powerful story. You lived probably 3 lifetimes before you were 21. Maybe. Mm-hmm. It sure sounds like it. And you just shared the story of your life. And again, just a real brief recap. You orphaned, molested at 5 or 7 years, date raped, which then was counseled into having an abortion, looking for self-esteem and identity, just trying to make sense of your life. But you find another young man and you get pregnant. Mm-hmm. And that led to an abortion. Mm-hmm. And now you're early 20s. Mm-hmm. And the box breaks open as you worded it.
It actually broke open when I was in my 30s, after I got married. The box stayed shut for a long time.
Can you bring us on that journey with you of 21 to then your 30s when the box breaks open? Yeah. Tell us about it.
Okay. Well, that period of my life was very happy. Mm-hmm. The box was shut, and I left it there, and I didn't even know that it was a box to pick up. I literally shut it out of my mind and out of my life. And I met the man that would become my husband when I was 23. Mm-hmm. We got married very shortly after, 3 months later. Our first child was born 9 months after that. Mm-hmm. Wow. And then over the period of 12 years, we had 4 children. And my life was great. He, at that time, was a teacher and football coach. And I worked in the insurance industry for a little while, but when our second child was 3 years old, I became a stay-at-home mom. And we started a side business in the early 90s. Everything was awesome, wonderful, had a great life, very happy. And then when my youngest child was about 18 months old, I was folding my laundry one day and watching an Oprah Winfrey show, and she was talking about how she had been molested by her. In her case, it was her uncle. And that's when box broke. Oh. It just was, somebody was actually talking about something that I had experienced but literally forgot about.
Okay, so I've got to put some perspective. So you said at 21 is when you made a decision, things have to change. Mm-hmm. But for you, as I'm putting the story together, it was, I'm not going to live this way anymore. I'm going to find some better choices and make those choices. That's what 21 looked like for you, of turning a corner. Mm-hmm. But that didn't entail dealing with the past and the pains that you went through.
Not at all. I locked it away. It was all internalized. Every bit of it. I wouldn't let myself... Well, literally, once I put the lid on the box and made that decision that I was going to change my life and I was going to go a different path, I literally forgot it. And I really think that God did that for me. I think He allowed me to feel a sense of normalcy so that I could move forward because He had bigger plans in mind.
You know, something I've learned, Tammy, is this. So I've had a number of surgeries, a good number of surgeries. And without the anesthetic, you can't go through those surgeries.
Exactly.
And I think God sometimes allows us a period of that anesthetic for us to prepare for surgery. So when that box opens, we'll get through that surgery. Can you describe now then the box opening? So you were watching a TV program and a person is sharing their story of rape. It's not molestation. You know, you've experienced both. And and something happens in you or something triggers in you. What was that?
I just started having a flood of memories come back. Not of the rape. It was the being molested for so long. Those memories started coming back. And they came back over the course of probably 6 to 12 months. I would have a little memory pop up here and there. And then, I finally, I told my husband, I said, look, I got to tell you what's happening here. Because I didn't purposely not tell him. I just forgot.
Wow.
God literally blocked me from remembering.
Which is what anesthetic is, right?
Yes,
It blocks the nerves.
Exactly. But when the memories did come back, everything kind of started cascading out of control. I became such an overachiever. There again, looking back to that validation that I was getting from being involved in things when I was younger.
I've got to be enough.
I've got to be enough. Like I wasn't enough, so I kept having to strive to do things well and many things. And so I got to the point that I was overworking myself. As people used to say, you're the busiest unemployed person I think I've ever met. Because I was president of several different organizations at the same time. I, had my 4 kids and they were all involved in things. My husband and I had started a side business that would keep me at home with the kids. So all of this was happening at the same time from like 2000 to, 2004, I guess. Or not, actually earlier than that. Probably like 1997 to 2004 was just a crazy time of being overly busy, overly involved in things. I became a pageant director in the Miss America organization, a local pageant director. So here I was, a broken person, and I was mentoring young women not to be broken.
But is this all part of masking? I'm going to busy myself doing all of these good, great works.
That's exactly right.
And I am not going to have to pay attention to this big hole, emptiness, big question mark in my soul.
That's exactly what it was.
And you're 30?
At that time, I was, when I had those memories start to come back, I was 36. So it went on for almost 10 years, right at 10 years, that I was just upside down. Everything was upside down.
Go through that? And again, I don't know your story. I haven't lived it. But did you ever, at any point, blame yourself for any of this?
Oh, yeah.
And you've got to help me understand this. Why, where does that come from? When I hear your story, it's not like you went out intentionally to harm people. It sounds like you were the person being harmed.
Right.
So the part that I never understood, Mark, for example, as we've talked to all these people with these amazing, powerful stories, in this case, your story, why do people that experience what you've experienced blame themselves? I don't understand the correlation.
Well, that's part of the grooming. When a child is being molested, the perpetrator grooms them to think that they have a responsibility in what has happened. So that shifts the responsibility off of the predator onto the child. So it makes the predator feel better about themselves.
Yeah.
They don't feel so guilty then.
Yeah, it's a brainwashing.
It's part of the brainwashing. It's part of the whole grooming process. And so that's what was done with me. I was led to believe that I was responsible for what was happening. Yeah. And if I told anybody, the fallout from that would be my responsibility.
But here's what's even more powerful, because if I'm hearing you correctly, that grooming isn't just isolated to that 1 7-year period of being molested. It carried over to other things in your life, it sounds like.
It does.
How can you elaborate on that for me?
Yeah, so because it starts with a child at an age, whether it doesn't matter if they're 4 or 2 or 12, they're being formed. their personality, their character, the way they troubleshoot, the way they handle life situations is all developing in a child. And so when they are groomed to act or behave or believe in a certain way, that becomes a part of that development. And it gets intertwined with that child and their maturing process. So later in life, when they do come to the point where they're ready to heal, some people never do, but for those who do, it's like peeling an onion. There are so many layers that have to be pulled apart in order for the healing process to happen that it's a very challenging healing process.
So basically then your filter, on Seven Habits, Stephen Covey just talks about the filter. Some people call it the glasses that we look through that are created by the experiences, and everything we see going forward are seen through those lenses.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you're saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
And it's such a broken place.
It is, very much so.
So as you're going through this, let's go. I'm trying to put the time frame on this thing. So let's say late 20s to early 30s. How are you viewing yourself at this point?
Well, I had a very low self-esteem because remember
It still carried over.
Yeah, it did, and because I had this compulsive overeating, and it started when I was pregnant with my first child, and I actually gained 90 pounds when I was pregnant with her because I made very poor food choices.
Yeah.
Well, after that, the weight didn't come, well, some of it came off, but then when I had my second child, after her birth, the weight never did come off.
Yeah.
And it just stayed there through each subsequent pregnancy. And each time, my self-esteem got worse and worse and worse, my physical self-esteem, because I didn't like the way I looked. And then you get depressed because you don't like the way you look, so you keep eating.
It's a vicious cycle.
It's just a vicious cycle that continued on and on.
Even into your 30s, after you're married, you meet this great guy.
Who was a personal trainer. So that even compounded it more, and he never said a word about my weight. I was 255 pounds when each child was born, and he loved me.
And he was a football coach.
Yes.
Okay,
He
so
never said a word.
That's a whole different episode.
He's just an animal. He never said a word. He just loved me. Yeah.
This is a tension relief, because your story it didn't end with the last abortion at 21.
No.
It still carried over and had repercussion, a very personal repercussion in your life.
Yes. Until I healed, it did. It wreaked havoc on my life. That's why when I hear today how people are lied to, how women are lied to about it's just tissue or whatever the stories are that they're told in these abortion mills, it just makes my blood boil, because it's a lie. It is a lie. There are repercussions. There are repercussions for that mother until she goes to her grave.
I want to touch on that real brief, because, man, we're limited on time. What are those repercussions? Post-abortive.
Guilt, shame, ambivalence. You did something that helped your life, but then you took your child's life. I felt like a murderer. Because I felt like, how could God ever forgive me for this? Because He blessed me with a child. That's all I wanted, being adopted. I wanted something with my DNA. He gave it to me twice, and I took the life. Who am I? Who do I think I am to even deserve another child? It really made me feel very unworthy, undeserving of God's love and acceptance. And those were all things that, when combined with being sexually abused, just made me feel very defeated. I don't want to say self-pity in the traditional term, but you can't help but have some self-pity after that kind of situation.
So you already said you had no self-esteem. And now the expression of insult to injury doesn't even come close. But it's that insult to injury. Like, the injury's already happened. You probably can't be injured more.
Yeah.
But now it's adding the insult to all of that.
But Trevor, before we go on,
Yeah.
ask you a question, because nowadays, like for example, the other day I saw a video of this actress. I don't know what her name is, but she was testifying in front of Congress, and she was just like really confident and saying how happy she was because she had an abortion. And I guess that the thing is that, because people hear your testimony and hear that actress's version, and people like her. Mm-hmm. So I guess, what would you say to the people who watch those videos of these actors saying that this was like the best decision of their life, to give them a perspective of what's kind of the common narrative out there, especially in the Hollywood world?
I would say that, especially to someone who is that verbal and that vocal about it, it's only a matter of time, honey. It's not going to be the best decision you ever made 10 years from now, 15 years from now, when you realize what you actually allowed to happen.
Yeah.
It's a lie. It's anyone who has any kind of heart or conscience at all cannot possibly go the rest of their life without one moment of regret. I don't believe that.
I'm with you on that.
I've experienced it. It's not possible. If you're a human being with a heart, it's not possible.
We can make ourselves feel excited about a decision we made knowing it's bad. Mm-hmm. But,
I think people who get up and talk that way, and especially in front of Congress or in front of any group of people, they're masking. They're masking something.
Yeah.
Because they get more involved in fighting for what they believe is women's rights or women's right to control their body or whatever than they do the reality of the situation.
That becomes their masking. That makes them feel better about their life.
It makes them feel like they're okay.
Yeah.
You know what? They might feel okay at the moment, but abortion is never okay.
Yeah.
It's not about, in my view, and I've done it twice, it's not about my rights to my body. It's about the right of that child to have a life and the mother's responsibility to make sure that child has that right. It goes past it's my body, I should have the right to do whatever I want with it. It's above that.
And I'm certainly not saying that actress, for example, is being insincere. Mm-hmm. She believes she's at where she's at, and she really is, right? Mm-hmm. I would say we have the right to look at it differently, and I think that's what we're talking about from the perspectives and experiences that we're sharing here today. Because certainly I'm not trying to invalidate that person's experience. That's not what we're saying.
No,
so I just want to make that clear. But there are women, I know Bonnie and you would see it very differently because she had the same, this is what it did to my soul.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And that's just powerful. So to sum it up here, the box broke open, but yet even though it broke open, you still had to mask it. And so I'm going to do this, this, and this. And this made me feel better, so I'm going to eat this, this, and this. Yeah. And now I feel even worse because now I've gained X amount of pounds and I don't feel good about myself. And really, your life is unraveling in your 30s after you meet a great godly man. Mm-hmm. And you're having this family that probably loves and adores you, but you're still running. And now you're going to have the day of personal reckoning where you go, something's got to change here. I can't keep doing this.
But to hear that, we're going to have to tune in to the next episode.
Mark keeps us on track.
All right.
Thanks, Mark.
Well, thank you guys.
Thanks, Tammy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tammy. Talking guys in a bit.